We can start in a minute. Okay, this is the meeting of the ad hoc parking committee, and we're looking at systems for parking, and we have two presenters tonight. The first is T2, who we already have a contract with to for our handheld devices used by our parking meter enforcers, as we call them. So we have three people representing T2 here tonight. One is from T2 and the other two are from the company that installs and takes care of, maintains is the word, the kiosk. And as you see, I don't know if you guys can see it, but we have a beautiful kiosk here in City Hall. Can you see it, Evan?
Yes, I can.
Okay. It's quite attractive with a solar.
Tom, if you want to sit next to it and
Oh,
spoke,
I can do it.
track your face to it.
Come on, Vanna.
Here it is. Is it working?
That's
Yeah.
actually a lot better.
There you go. Can you see it? And this guy is solar. Okay. So Jody Bacchus.
Yeah.
Is gonna tell us a little about their system.
Very good. So thank you all for allowing us to be with you today. We had a wonderful afternoon walking your downtown area. Joe and I spent about 2-3 hours. We counted every space. We have a really good understanding of what you're dealing with at the moment and what we think we can help you with, help you with replacement of some of your current units and getting them up to running and increasing your revenue a little bit. So I'm gonna let Joe kind of take over, because I think it's the most important that you kind of get to see the kiosk and see how easy it is to use. I always tell people, I have these in my garage, and when my daughters were little, there's 4 steps. So we make them easy for everybody to use, whether you're young, old, in between, and so on. So Joe, I'm gonna let you go ahead and kind of go through that, since we have about 30 minutes, and we'd certainly like any questions that you might have to make best use of your time today. So just let us know.
Sure, I'm Joey Romano from ITS. Again, we are the reseller and company that does the installation, service, and the ongoing support of the pay stations. Real quick, we have my office in Parsippany, New Jersey. Our corporate office is in Wallingford, Connecticut. We have about 3,000 pay stations under our care from New England down to Georgia. So, our service technicians are equipped with spare parts inventories, and we try to get out to service the units, within 24 to 48 hours in most occasions, so that we're minimizing your downtime. That's the most important thing. The kiosk itself is one of the nice things about the kiosk is that what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide additional revenue for you guys, and we're trying to also provide good customer experience and customer service. And we realize that sometimes those two things can be on opposite ends of the spectrum. So ultimately, the goal is to try to meet in the middle, so that we're able to to give the town kind of the city the kind of revenue that it needs, and not kind of have the the users be that's what I'm looking for, but just kind of have a poor experience or what have you with pay station. But the kiosk is great because it offers multiple ways to pay, and probably the biggest advantage, as Tom and I were speaking before the meeting, the biggest advantage of the kiosk over the current meters that you have in town right now is that the kiosk prevents something we call in the industry piggybacking, and piggybacking is you can see the time that's on the meter currently right now. So if I come in and I pay for an hour and I leave in 20 minutes, the next individual can see that, hey, there's still 40 minutes on the meter and we'll have to pay. When you use a kiosk, the first person pays for an hour and he leaves in 20 minutes. The next person comes up, has no idea that spot is paid for. And ultimately, you can make multiple within the hour, multiple revenue on that same spot. And that equates to about 35 to 40% increase industry-wide in revenue, as opposed to the sales-based meters. This is set up, the different modalities that you can use with the pay station. You can do either what we call pay and display, pay by space, or pay by license plate. Pay and display, we don't really talk about much anymore. It's kind of old school. You basically, you just put in the amount of time, you get a ticket back, put it in your dashboard, and then enforcement takes forever, and you have to have more machines because people can walk back and forth, no good. So the focus has been primarily on pay by space and pay by license plate. Pay by space is nice because ultimately you know exactly where the car is, right, in the different, you get some of the different spaces in the different zones. And you enter the space number and you get, actually, here's a transaction that we did, with the stall number. I can go through one. This here, on this we have set up pay by plate, pay by space. Obviously, we can label this, however we want to, but this is just saying what modality it is. It could be, it could be Warren Street, it could be, the Amtrak lot. You can have different modalities actually through the same pay station if you like it. But if I go first through a pay by space transaction, okay, it's gonna enter the stall number. We put in the range of spaces that are valid within, for that particular, that pay station is covering. And we can put, numbers are pretty much, I think up to 9,999. I'm gonna hit okay. And we can set the rates up to however we want. We can have multiple, tiered rates. We can have very simple. You can have incremental rates. You can have select number of hours. We program it to your desire. In this case, I'm just gonna do, you can do daily rate. I'm gonna do $2 per hour. So like one, enter the number of hours. Okay, boom, it's gonna tell me it's $4. And I'm gonna run a quick transaction. Fortunately, it's not charging a card, but.
We have some customers that, there might be a lot that it makes sense to do pay by space, and then the rest of the city is pay by plate.
Correct.
So you can mix and match, it's all included, it's easy to change, setting up your rates. You can do it on your notebook, your laptop, everything can be done from the office. You have a special event going on in town, like 4th of July, and you want to change everything to be $5 for the special day, you can do that.
See what happened?
And
I did several transactions with my card,
it's declined.
and it told me maximum card use exceeded. So I have to,
So yeah, if you have a special event,
Plus,
going
he's got an
on,
attitude.
do lots of changes with your rates.
On my car,
No,
Dominant's car.
I got it.
Can they do choice,
It
pay by
shows
space or
Yes,
license plate?
it
Yeah.
can do either one.
either or.
This card is
So the
accepted.
nicest part about pay by plate is if you're walking to town and, my time is almost up, you don't have to go all the way back to that kiosk.
It gives you
Even
app.
though
Right.
pay at the other kiosk at the other side of
Pay
town.
by space or pay by, that's,
Right.
that's the pay by space.
The pay stations are integrated with the handheld devices that you're
Hmm.
currently going to be using and going live with shortly. So your enforcement officers will know which spaces and zones are overtime parking, where they need to ticket, which ones will shortly be overtime, or which ones have time remaining. I talked to Stan today when we were out and about, so kind of talking a little bit high level with that. So we can make enforcement very easy for your team to do. And also when somebody uses their mobile phone to pay, all those transactions also feed back into the pay station. So now you have one system managing all things parking, all talking to each other, which is a huge benefit to the city from a cost savings and then also from a managing perspective as well.
Yeah,
So-
everything's there.
Just to save time, yeah. Can't go through every little detail with the machine, but we can certainly do a remote if you need more detail at some point. We just wanted to kind of make sure,
Yeah,
yes.
so that's it. So basically, pay by plate is the same, same thing as far as that goes. You can just enter your license plate, and you get a receipt the same way. You can select, different rate schedules. Again, we're completely, flexible on how that looks. The other thing too is as you notice, the keypad itself is alphanumeric, very easy to use. And as Jody said in the beginning, the nice thing about this pay station is, I don't know if you've seen some others out there, who've got big buttons and arrows and you feel like you're playing a game of shoots and ladders. What you have to do. This, everything prompts everything right there for you and tells you, and it's just hit the corresponding key and you're done, right? Same thing, maintenance side, there's a cancel, okay, they can come in and you can do all your different diagnostics and tests, whatever for the tech, you guys can do, technicians can, the same way, so it's very easy to use. I just show you the inside real fast. See. They run off of a battery, obviously a 12-volt battery. In this particular instance, this unit, the Luke Cosmo unit utilizes 2 or 3 smaller batteries actually, whereas larger pay station uses a larger battery. This is the control, the brains of the system. And one of the nice things about this pay station is as it ages, the features, as we enhance or we bring things, to the pay station that maybe weren't there, we can update the software and the controller so that you don't have to continue to buy different pieces of equipment. One of the things too is there's some competitive equipment out there that, whether it's pay by space or pay by plate, was a different unit that you have to buy different ones. Like we just showed, not only is it the same unit, it's program, you can even have both at the same time. So that's one of the things we try to do is to make it, very, very user friendly, very intuitive, and very, very easy to, to navigate for the customer. Basically, again, I'm not gonna bore you with the details here, but the bottom line that gets, in this particular unit, there's a solar panel on top. Like I said, it runs off the battery. The solar panel charges the battery. So one of the things we did notice, we did a thorough walkthrough, okay? We did a thorough walkthrough. The majority of the units that we could, that we would provide, I think, would be solar units, would be easier, because it's hard to perform power saving. There's a couple sides of the street on Warren in particular, on the shady side of the street, where if you had the ability to tap into the light poles, you could do that. If not, we would install in the best areas, and then we basically, there's methodology through the backend software, the hosted software, to be able to see the battery voltage levels, how they are. And then you can actually, if you get a real bad stress of weather, and drain the battery a little bit, you could have a couple batteries on charge and just if you have to replace them periodically, but that wouldn't happen very often at all, so, and we'll work with you. Again, one of the things that we do is we work to determine the locations, where they need to be installed, what's best from a sunlight perspective. We don't want to put them under trees. We'll tell you where paths need to be poured, that we were looking also where we can install on the street, not on the street, but on any sidewalk, so you have to do that. And then ultimately, we're gonna walk you through every step of that process. I wanted to just kind of through that. Anything else?
And then the software is really, what are the brains? I mean, those are your guts. The brains are really, the magic is in the software. So the analytics that you get from the back end software is really what allows you to manage your parking operation. So the information, you will know occupancy rates. You will know how long people have stayed, when they leave, your turnover rates. We kind of talked a little bit about price changes, if there are certain locations that, are higher volume, you can maybe charge a little bit more in some of those locations. If you're trying to drive some folks maybe into a lot to keep, your main street for people coming in to eat and shop, which makes the businesses thrive, right? It's like having a parking study with all these analytics.
Right.
Created reports, so whoever needs specific information in regards to revenue, in regards to that pricing, the audit information. So we have all that great information available to you, which is, again, can be sent to you every morning at 5 a.m. or whoever needs that. And what Joe said too, these basically they're workhorses, but if something is low, whoever's in charge of them will get an alert saying, hey, come and check battery, or the paper's running low. So we're trying to be proactive with the pay stations, so they should never be down.
Right, you'll get, as Jody was saying, all of a sudden, you'll get, not only will it be in the backend software, but again, as Jody was saying, we program alerts that go to either emails or cell phones to tell you, that there's a specific issue that needs to be checked out so that you can respond. Some of the things, what we're gonna do too, is we're gonna train you to the level that you want to be trained. We have some communities that have very highly sophisticated, technological people working on the equipment, and they call us just for, advice or different things that they need. Whereas we have others that, every time they change the paper, they call us. So whatever you need, we'll get you the proper training. But again, you'll have that ability, as Jody said, to completely manage, your facility, both from an operational standpoint, a revenue standpoint, and, just looking on into the future, what you can do, realizing some of the things, that some of the changes that the system is going to enable you to make, you may have to pass ordinances for, but ultimately you're going to have all that information.
I think, Joey, you hit it on the head early on with customer service. I think it's really important. Nobody wants to pay for parking, but we have to do it. So what we're trying to do is make it very easy for people. The worst thing that can happen is they get to a machine, they don't understand it, it's not working. So we make it very easy for them to pay for parking. So in addition to them touching a pay station, we have our text to park, which again is another option for your customers to pay for parking. They can text, they don't have to download an app, and then you have Park Mobile today. So now you're giving 3 options, all integrated together with your current solution from T2. Again, choices are good. That's what makes people happy. Some people don't want to download an app. Great. We've got the text department. So we'll provide some good signage. We'll help you with that. We'll provide all the artwork. If you have a sign shop, your public works team, they can create the signage and we can kind of help you, do that. But we're partners in this, so we work together to make sure that you have all the tools that you need.
And there's no cash.
There can be, so we're gonna look at coin and credit card.
Cause I'm just thinking seniors, right?
Yeah, they're gonna want, and a lot of it depends too on your rate structure. So right now, if your rate structure is 50 cents an hour, the coins may be a viable, thing. If you eventually get to $1 an hour, then maybe not. Maybe then you look in, upgrading to, we call it EMB, you can do contactless payment options and things of that nature. Right now, we wouldn't recommend that, it doesn't, it's not, the benefit that doesn't outweigh the cost right now, but it's available to you, at a future point if you want to do that too.
So we want to make sure we save time for questions.
Yes.
So are there any questions?
Yes, council members first.
How is it vandal protected?
Great question.
Great question. I mean, it's got multiple locking mechanisms that you can see. Actually, that's a good question too, with the keys too. We use something called a stoplight key system. There's a green chip on this key. And basically, the upper, if you have a unit that does have coins, you could potentially have a separate key. And if you have folks that handle just, basic maintenance and what have you, they could have one key code that opens that, and then they wouldn't have access to the
You don't
money.
want your maintenance people having the key to the collection and.
Right, or vice versa. If you have the same people doing it, you can have the same key code for both, right? So it depends on whatever works for you. The point of this though, is that with these keys, is that, we'll give you, say we end up hypothetically, 30, 40 pay stations in the city, we'll give you probably about 4 to 6 keys. The reason why we don't want to give you too many keys is because you may not have that many people out there all, at once. And on top of that, this is like, it's like when I told my son when he was growing up, don't lose it, because basically the point is that if the key gets lost or stolen, right, then somebody potentially has the ability to access your unit. So that's the reason why we do the stoplight, yellow, green, yellow, red. If in the event that were to happen, right, you then would use the yellow key, right? And once the yellow key was inserted in the locks, it changes the pin out of the lock so that the green key doesn't work anymore. Same thing if you go yellow to red. Once you get to red, then at that point, we recommend changing the locks because you can't go past red, and if you lose the red, then it's open. But ultimately, you're not gonna.
Also from like a theft, so in the bottom
Yes.
cabinet where the cash box is, that's locked. You pull that out, it's time stamped, you will know from your back end software report how much money is in that, and you can set those thresholds. Once it hits like $250, you can send an email to collect it. They'll pull that out, they'll put a new lock box in there, lock it, they drop it off to whoever collects the money. In 25 plus years, we've never had anybody break into one. We've never had anybody steal one. And the audible alarm would go off if it's hit.
Yes.
So there's many measures in place if somebody would try to do it.
So the lockbox is watched, so whoever's picking up is a little safe there because they have
And
a
one
lock.
key thing too, though, what we do is we only provide 2 of this with each unit, because we don't want you taking money out of it, say out, that's never, so it has a.
So this is a big, it's keyed. That one stays locked.
Mhm.
You pull that out, you put an empty one back in.
Yep.
This is the one that comes to the office for them to collect.
So the collector, so there's no public access.
Where you got it. Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And from an audit control, there's absolutely no way anybody can, other than in your office.
And honestly, we've had some, let's say they've had some loss of revenues not matched, and we did audits, and that every time that's been easy to step.
What other questions?
Ultimately, yeah, it's very.
Dominic?
I have one more
Go ahead.
question. Have you ever had trouble with the batteries machine fire?
Never.
No.
Okay.
It's not
Great
like.
question.
Those are lithium ion.
Okay.
Those are like your Tesla batteries, and
Yeah.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
No, this is.
Typically 3 years, good
Okay.
3 years,
Good
3 to 5 years.
old fashioned lead acid.
And Joe and their team, they have spare parts and they'll might recommend to keep a few on site, but these guys are available. They're your boots on the ground. And then you have T2 as a company. We're your next support. So I mean, again, you have solutions with us today. This is just adding on some additional. You still come you're still in the T2 family. We're just providing you somebody with a little bit closer support if you need it.
So the batteries have a charging unit, like for the spares back at the station.
Yeah, basically it's a wall charger,
Okay.
right, that you just plug in and they could have up to three batteries charging on it.
Bronxville has a charger.
We currently have that now, the one for the Amtrak, they are down to the, garage.
You know, highly treated.
They charge them.
Area where there's trees and whatnot, they keep batteries charged, and what they do is they bring them out, especially in the winter time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to have, I mean, yeah, the bottom line is that solar, obviously, if you could everywhere, if you could have AC, connection everywhere you go, it's obviously it's better because you don't ever have to worry about it, but it's not practical financially and just practically, to bring power to, to on street units and what have you. So solar, is, like I said, we got 3,000 of them, 60% are solar and, they work very, very well. But I'm not gonna lie, there may be some times, especially on very shady sides of the street, where you just have to keep an eye on it, and you'll be able to do that, in the software and and then, like I said, if you see it dip below 12, and it's not coming back to charge, then you may, want to rotate. And that's few and far between, but the bottom line is it can happen with solar. But like I said, you can easily.
Well, we also get points for green too, if we use green products.
There you go.
City points.
And these can be moved, believe it or not, they're portables. If we find that it's just not doing what it is, if we need to shift it down a little bit, and that's where, again, we have a great team with ITS who is there for you if, again, we need to move some things around a little bit.
Yeah, the other thing too is if it happens too, I mean, we can convert it, to an
Sure.
unit if we need it to be too.
So you heard about the corrosion of the kiosk down at
Yeah.
the train station. What's the quality on this?
I mean, they use a zinc-based, zinc-coated, paint. We've had, like I said, out of the 3,000 units that we've got installed, both models, the Luke Cosmo and the Luke 2. And some of and we have them in a lot of the Jersey Shore communities, with the sea and salt there, and we have them down in Rehoboth, we have them in and a lot of those are up in Martha's Vineyard and what have you. And they're extremely good. Just the best way to tell you is back when Superstorm Sandy hit, right? We had 100 units at a short community in Jersey. And most of the other ones at the time decided, to bring the units in, or, that they were able to do that. And this particular one did not at the time because they had a lot to worry about. And obviously the storm was immense, and you can imagine when we got to some of the units that were, that were affected, they were lit. And even though water and pieces of concrete and kiosks that were on the boardwalk were blown past them and what have you, the units were still, the seals all held, and the unit was still on. I mean, they had water, dams that went through all the, but the bottom line is sand and what have you. Bottom line was they're extremely rugged and durable, and we've had great success on them. That's the only thing you can speak to is what you've got out the field and what they had. So, and when there is any type of an issue that relates to something that should not happen, these guys are very, very good. We report it, we take photos, we get serial numbers, we file all
And replacements.
right, and they've done the best. But one quick story I just want to tell you too is one of the things, you see this keypad right now, this is all one piece keypad, right? When they first came out with these up in their keypads, the keypads, they look similar. The only difference was that they were individual keys, right? They were tactile, they were really great, but the only thing was for all of a sudden back in the COVID years, after a while, we started getting reports, some of the buttons were coming off, right? And that's one, they thought people were pulling them off initially, so they waited, right? That wasn't the case. What the case was, as with COVID, everybody was cleaning everything with those types of stringent cleaners and what have you, and it ate at the glue.
Mhm.
So so what happened is these guys, you know, they acknowledged it. They said, hey, not only did they replace the keypads, but they figured they needed to come up with a better solution. So this is all one piece now. Nothing's coming off of it and, you know, and then make it
We're
better.
not perfect, but if there's an issue, that's the thing. We're gonna be there to partner and make sure that we take care of it.
Yeah, and, you know, updates and things like that. That's the other thing too. I mean, yeah, there may be an update with a PCI update, or there may be a Microsoft update. And we, you know, we will work with you guys and we, you know, we get all of our clients, you know, updated, you know, those things. So
Can you remotely do stuff too, to update it?
it actually.
Great question.
Good
Yes.
question.
So basically, you could do it with your notepad, your note. iPad. Laptop, what have you, everything can be done, you can do it from your house.
Okay.
In 30 seconds, you can change a rate.
No special software.
And it's amazing, you don't have to call anybody, we show you how to do it, it's very easy, it's like an Outlook calendar.
Yeah,
It's literally kind of clicking, changing in a rate and,
it's a new platform, you can, everything over the air updates. And the other thing that's nice is you can even do advertising now. Like for instance, in front of the stores, where the kiosks are, you can talk to that particular merchant and, you know, say, hey, you know, we can advertise on this kiosk for you. Download something for a month and you can collect some extra revenue if you want to do that and have them pay for it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's,
also even with our text to park, we do banner ads, we do that, so that's another great thing, you can actually sell those, again, to businesses.
For town events.
Town events,
Yeah.
if you want to get messages to any of your parkers, when they open up the link, boom. So it's really kind of neat options for you all.
And the last thing I just want to you know, realizing, you know, this is a big decision, you know, for a lot, especially small communities that haven't done this before. You know, a lot of people, communities have different reasons for doing what they're doing, you know, like we said, we had a lot of Jersey Shore communities that were tourist attractions, so it made sense, right? But we also had one that was not, they didn't consider themselves a destination, they were residential, you know, small town. But what happened in their case was they had a community center that was built and they had a grant from the government and all of a sudden that money disappeared. So they had to come up with a way to pay for it and ultimately kicking and screaming over a year period, 4 to 3 vote from the board, they decided to do paid parking because they didn't want to encourage, you know, people to come into the town. That wasn't their, you know, their value group. But ultimately, you know, when they did it, they were able to, you know, to generate the revenue that they needed, even, you know, more than they anticipated, you know, and ultimately, you know, it worked for them and, you know, it was something that, it made a lot of sense for them.
Ronnie, your question?
Yeah, I had 2 questions. One, what is the closest area that you guys serve? I saw on your website that Vermont, or Burlington, I mean. Is there anything closer that we may be able to like drop by and check? And the second question is, I think you mentioned the availability of a tap to pay. I think you mentioned like EMV or something like that. So that is a possibility, but you kind of broached past it. Is there a negative to using that?
No, there's nothing negative. First off, yeah, Poughkeepsie is probably the biggest, that's nearby. We have, I think about 50 pay stations in Poughkeepsie.
Anybody else meet me down there?
I'll give it a tour.
We can get you lots of.
Westchester County, we have probably 15 to 20, including White Plains, is 180 units that are in White Plains. And, you know, that I could give you a list of, you know, communities in Westchester, a few others in and around this area too. But anyway, back to the EMV. EMV obviously is a European Master Visa is a new, much more secure, it's a chip and pin technology. Obviously the pin doesn't apply here, but the chip can. You can do 1 or 2 things with the reader. The MagStripe reader that's currently here could be a chip insert reader, right? And you could just do that alone without contactless payment, or you could do chip reader and then have an additional contactless reader that would allow you to do things like Apple Pay and, you know, Google Wallet and so on and so forth. It's great, you know, if you've got a clientele that wants to use it. And again, it's sometimes it can replace cash because, you know, it's, you know, a lot of young people have that and they don't even know what cash is anymore, right? So ultimately, that's great. Only, it's not a negative, it's just that right now, It's a somewhat costly option to add to the pay stations. Both of those readers combined probably add about 20% to the cost of the pay station. And on top of that, there is an ongoing, fee associated with, what we call, the secure pay, the gateway, credit card gateway. So there's an ongoing, monthly subscription with that. So the reason why we say, if you really want it, obviously you can have it, make sense, it's available, we can do it. But the thing is that, like I said, the punishment for having a fraud occurrence with EMV is just the cost of the transaction, right? So if you have one or two a year, you're only charging a few dollars, that's basically all it's gonna be. If you're selling diamonds, or cars, maybe it would be something a little bit more.
Can it always be added later on?
Exactly, it can be added at any point in
The
time.
reader.
You can add a
Or
reader,
you can do every other meter maybe.
or you can do, like you said, you can do some that have it and some that don't, that's a possibility.
It's a great question.
Ronnie, anything else?
I would imagine your proposal would include the cost difference and all that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. That's it.
So, I talked to Jody earlier, and with the group approval, I've asked for remember how we talked last meeting about a temporary sort of test idea? And we would get a sort of a phase one estimate for doing the rest of Warren Street and all of our lots with kiosks. In other words, we leave the parking meters where they are now, except in the lots, take those out, and because that's almost a no-brainer for the lots. So we'll get an estimate for that, and then an estimate for just doing the whole caboodle.
From third down. What?
For the first one, the second one would be everything.
Okay, gotcha.
One of
Does
the
that sound? Because they've offered they can do that, and
Yeah.
so we'll have two different ways of going forward if we go with them.
One of the things we can do for you too, we do for a lot of our customers is, we have a questionnaire basically about how the facility will operate, or how the town will operate, or the areas that he wants to do. And we're gonna ask you questions like, okay, how many total paid spaces? What is the, couple of things that, again, we realize it's not gonna be 100% accurate, and it's an estimate a little bit, but what is the average occupancy rate, on that week? And what is the average term, right? In addition, then we're gonna be able to see what the rate is. We're gonna be able to surmise then, what the daily rate is, and we'll be able to tell you per space with the occupancy, accounting for the occupancy rate, be able to give you an idea of how much revenue that you'll be able to collect, over the course of a year, and compare it to what the costs are, the initial cost of the equipment. Now, obviously, if you purchase, it'll all be in the first year. We can tell you how many months or whatever it is that you can pay back in. If you decide to lease, that's another option too. Then it could be for, the cost could be across, the different years, and you get an idea, again, how quickly,
And we'll make some assumptions, and we can even kind of play around with that a little bit, but I'd like for you to see that, because I think it's really beneficial to kind of.
I think for the temporary, for the phase one idea,
Mhm.
we would like to see buy as well as lease.
Absolutely.
If we're testing it and it doesn't work, then we don't own it,
Sure.
How does it work with permits?
Good question. What with permits? You can talk.
Well, the pay station, obviously, you can get permits, through the permitting system if you want to have like residential
So
permits.
let's talk about that first, because you already have that today. So today with your new solution, with your enforcement, permits are included. So I would say you'd want to utilize that because it's already there and it doesn't cost you any more money. If you did want to sell permits through the pay station, you can do that. But I would say you'd probably be doing it currently with your new system. And
With the pay station, basically what you're doing, when you call it a permit, is as you can see, we could set a daily, we can set a rate, for
Yes.
a month, a guest, whatever it is. We can set a rate, that's, whatever you want to charge, $100 a month or whatever it is, And one of the other things that we actually have the ability to do is if you have residents, you can upload license plate data, okay, of the residents to the back end software, so that when that resident enters their license plate, it knows that that person qualifies for that certain rate. And
So for example, Dominic, in the lot behind us, if Tracy comes in the morning, she would just be free as it is now.
Right.
And just enter her number.
correct.
That would be it.
We can give everybody in
We don't have to have
town
that thing anymore.
an hour of free parking a day. If you want to do something like that, we can do discounts on parking through the pay station. VIPs, jury duty. We have these at marinas. People can use these to launch their boat. They buy a permit. So when you think about this, it's a machine that can kind of sell anything, so to speak. It's just we're using it for parking. So it's lots of things. Good question.
Tracy, did you have anything you wanted to say?
So currently we have a kiosk into the train station. It has a shelter, each of these shelters.
They don't need them per se. We looked at the shelter that you have, it does, obviously you have solar panel too. Your roof on the solar panel is clear, so we could theoretically use that, because one of them's gone already, and if we decide to put two in there, we could remount it in that same space. Well, yeah, exactly, it wouldn't be an issue, but that's a great question, and lots and things like that, obviously on the street, you're not gonna put shelters, but theoretically, the shelter is for the purpose of the patient, is to make sure that they're, if you decide to do machines, they're fine, don't worry about that.
These are, believe it or not, this is ever so tilted, so if somebody tried to set, let's just. It falls. If you get a really heavy snow, it may take a little bit to take off, but for the most part, it just kind of, and this can be rotated based on the best sun exposure, and that's again, Joe and his team, they're experts at. They've installed hundreds and thousands of these pay stations, so they're gonna put them in the best location, in the best sun exposure.
One of the nice features actually that again, I think we recognized was that, I don't know if you guys can't see, but if you get a chance to come up from here. This panel is a dual panel, right? And the reason for that is initially the first panels that came out were single panel. And as you may know, if you put something on or you cover a portion of the panel, pretty much, that affects it overall. If somebody puts a cup or something, it has to be a heavy cup because it would slide off. But if they were to put something on the one side, the other side is still gonna charge and work. So that's another nice feature.
And we'll make sure that there's decals, there's good signage as well, because again, that's important for your customers. You can touch the physical pay station, or you can use the text to park, no app to download, so again, or the mobile pay.
In-person training involved with it?
Yeah.
We can absolutely, for sure.
We do that. We will come in, we'll just give you a quick scenario. You say, go ahead and move forward. We have an initial project kickoff meeting. We're gonna come in, we're gonna talk, we'll do some paperwork, obviously, contact, well, they already have contact info.
Yeah.
But things of, because again, they communicate, to the back end host through a cellular modem in most cases, the probably do here. So they have the ability to, you can have that modem be connected and the service go through them. It's through Verizon or AT&T, but they can set it up as opposed to using a local government rep. That's up to you, whatever you want to do. We're gonna talk to you about that. We're gonna talk to you about the other thing that takes probably the most time is setting up the credit card merchant account, right? With a non-EMV unit, there's a host of credit card processors that you guys can work with as they work directly with. We have a list of it, tons of them, all the main ones, Harmon, Chase Payment Tech, First Data, all of them. Now, if you get it to EMV, it's kind of limited because you're using the gateway too. So with the insert reader with the EMV, you have a choice of 3, First Data, Chase, or I believe it is Elavon, is the third one.
Yes.
If however you decide to go contactless, it's down to First Data, which is the biggest one, everybody, they're probably the
It's just,
biggest.
it's very limited out there.
But you're kind of limited.
Exactly, first data, that's what they're using, that's their gaming.
Yeah.
So just wanted to give you that information.
Any other questions? Because we have another vendor leaving,
Trying to keep it.
but thank you very much.
You're welcome, for sure. And if anything comes up, just
Yeah,
let us know.
cool.
We're happy to present remote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Great,
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
Of course.
guys.
It's been a pleasure. All right, muscle over. I left them part.
Don't forget there.
Oh, yeah, you're back. Yeah. You're at the key. What? That's what I was saying. Oh, yeah. See what happened, there's a separate key that's unlocked this, right? So when I open, so I insert it in there, and So now I can't put it back.
Friendly Dominic, figures.
What I do? I broke it? I broke it?
I'm gonna run to the restroom.
Well, you like to think,
2 or 3 minutes.
South. Diane, it came from my wedding. Oh, they have name on it. No, those are Diane. Oh, you saw it? I know, I gotta find one. She probably has some. Finally. I will. You too. Take care. It's all of them, they look all the way.
Making out the order.
Then he said, I had time lots of. Thank you. Take care. Take care.
Okay, behave yourself. Meantime, we don't get in trouble. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Soon. Sooner than later. Life's too short, my friend.
People waiting.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Fun on the elevator again.
Yes. That's all right.
Hey, guys.
Roll the parking meters. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Have a good night. Bye. Thank you.
Okay, we have a second presentation. This is Barbara Schultes from POM Incorporated. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, and if you can't tell, she's from Texas.
Well, not too far from Texas, about 4 hours.
Oh, I think it's right.
Arkansas.
I could have said that instead, sorry. So tell us about your, you can see they have these new kind of meters. Do you want to just give us a presentation on how they work and everything?
Yeah, yes, I'd like to do that. Looking at you, of course, I'm Barbara Schultes. I'm the technical sales manager with POM, and I've been with them a long time. I'm ashamed to say how long. Anyway, and we're descended from the inventor of the parking meter, and it's come a long way as well. And when I was looking through your parking study, you had some photographs of some of your double meters that you have out on the street now. So I wanted to point out, first of all, that our ParkTel solar smart meter can cover 2 spaces. So one of these meters could replace one of those double meter configurations out on the street. So this particular one is displaying an arrow for the left and right space. I've put some time on the right space, so that's why these lights are blinking green, because there's paid time on that. And you can see 27 minutes on that arrow. And then there's 0 time on the left. So that one is expired. This meter is solar. So we have some solar panels on the back. It powers a rechargeable lithium ion battery, and we have a lithium thionyl backup battery that should last at least a year, maybe 2 to 3. This meter also is multilingual. So when you start to pay, you can choose English or Spanish. If you have a different preference, for instance, we have these in New Britain, Connecticut, where one section of town in Little Poland, they choose their Polish language. And then the rest of the town is English and Spanish. But to start out, I'm going to pay this meter with, I'm going to choose English. And I'm going to put some time on the left parking space and insert my card and pull it out. And it has a one hour minimum. I'm going to confirm that, but you can add more time with these buttons. Every meter has a 4G Cat M1 LTE modem. And I did check your Verizon coverage map, and you're heavily covered with the Verizon signal in Hudson. This meter will take coins, credit and debit cards, and you can pay by QR code without having to have a third-party mobile app. So the way that works, I'm going to choose my space again. This time I'm going to pay the right space, and a secure QR code appears, and you open it in the Chrome browser and pay.com comes up, and I'm going to add some time or just choose the minimum, and it clears through Apple Pay or Google Pay.
And that QR code changes with each transaction?
I beg your pardon?
Does the QR code change with each transaction?
No. The QR code is generated by our dashboard, and it's different for each location. So every metered space will have its own QR code. So you can see now it's added an hour to what was already on that meter. Now normally, I think a lot of other mobile apps use QR codes that are decals, and you may have read that's pretty easy to copy, but they would not be able to do that and it not be easily detected. This QR code is going to be generated by the back office, and it's in with the digital display.
Questions, I guess. Do you, I have one. Can these be put on existing, do you have to buy the entire meter head?
You can mount this upper half of the meter to your existing vaults. You would have to have 2 heads on each vault, which might be more expensive than just getting one whole meter to replace both of those. The coin box holds $65 in quarters. And if you already have a locked coin collection system, we can key these coin boxes so that they work in your existing collection equipment.
Comment?
We have our gateway provider is NMI, and they can work with First Data, Elevon. I heard Joe mentioning several different processors, and NMI is integrated with all of them.
Did they say if it's integrated with TI? Our parking
Oh,
space?
is it integrated with T2 parking devices? I mean,
We've been integrated with them to the extent that we can take the same prepaid smart cards. And that is a 4th payment method that you could add to these meters. And the cards can be reloaded at the T2 Luke pay stations.
No, we're talking about the parking enforcer handhelds. Can the T2 handhelds read these meters easily?
Yes, we can integrate our back office with theirs. What you would get from the meter is the mechanism ID number and its location, and the status at the time, the status of the meter at the time that the ticket's written.
Excellent. Jennifer?
That was the biggest question I had.
Yeah.
If it works.
What happens with the meter if it still has time on it? Does it go after or just stay until another person puts money on it?
The meter does not have an onboard sensor, so the meter doesn't know if the car has left, if you add more time, if that's the same car or a new person. Now, I can say that with the prepaid smart card system, when you come back with your card, if there's any time left on the meter, you stick the card in and you can get that leftover time back on your card, and that would reset the meter to 0 for the next person. That's the only payment method that would give the motorist a refund if they put too much time on the meter.
Tracy, you have any questions? Ronnie or Vicky?
Hi, where can we see, are there any cities nearby that they have your program?
Okay, we have a few of these up in Albany, up at UAlbany, near their tennis courts. We've got quite a few down in New Britain, Connecticut, Westfield, New Jersey. Like I said, New Britain is using this latest firmware that has the multilingual and the QR code and all that. Westfield, New Jersey takes coins, credit cards, the MPay app. They have a free time button, which we can program a little free time when someone presses their button or chooses their parking space. That's something you can do with these meters. And they also have the prepaid smart cards that give refunds. Woodstock, Vermont, Boothbay Harbor, Maine, Valley Stream.
Can you program these? You can program these from a computer, right? I mean, from a.
Oh, yeah.
laptop.
Yes,
And you have to have the same. You can have different programs affecting different meters, right?
exactly. Yes. And I can show that back office if you need me to. I can share some screens from that.
Sure. Please do.
Okay. Hold on a moment. Can you see this?
Yep.
Dashboard. Okay. This is the dashboard from Monterey, California. And this is what they pull up when they first get into their software. And it lets them see if they have any meters with a low battery. They have about 334 of our Parktel meters. I like to use their dashboard. They gave me permission to, and they're just so on top of it. With 334 meters, they only have 2 meters not reporting. So that's something they can look at every morning and see if they need to visit any meters to do any troubleshooting. But it shows them their revenue, solar performance, audits, revenue today, or you can see by week or month, year, average daily revenue, lots of different information. You asked about the mechanism specifications where you can set those up. And I'll show you one of theirs. So here's one, zone 1 is a 2 hour, $2.25 an hour. But yes, this is where you can see their text displays, they're customized, they're just ping files. It's got their logo and then you go down to rate options, and this is where you set up the coin. The quarter gives 6 minutes and 40 seconds. The dime gives 2 minutes and 4. They've got pretty high rates. So you have values for quarters, dimes, nickels, dollars. We take 3 different kinds of smart cards. Here's where the credit card is going to give the same time per 25-cent amount. But when you go down to the credit card options, they're forcing a 75-cent minimum purchase. Actually, we recommend at least a $1 minimum purchase because of the credit card interchange fees. You probably already know all about that, but smart card options. Here's where you can enable your LEDs or disable those, and how often they blink and all that backlighting. And then to go and look at the actual meters themselves, their database, you can see all their installed meters. And you can sort by zone, by area, by mechanism ID. You can see, let's see, their most recent transactions. And another thing about transaction reporting, you have a lot of data out there occurring in real time where you can go and set your transaction beginning and ending date and the transaction type. And this is all the information you could see about, you know, if there were any jams, card purchases, coin purchases, pay by sale, card refunds if you had a smart card system. Just lots of different data out there that you can put in a report and take to court. You can use it for reconciling your revenue reports with the bank. And all of that is uploadable to spreadsheets or PDFs. And then if you're seeing more data than you really want to see, here's where you can turn off some of those columns, especially before you would download it to a report.
Who would be your maintenance people up here?
Meter
who-
maintenance?
Yeah, who would,
Okay.
be your tech support or, I'm sorry, your maintenance support?
Okay, for maintenance support ongoing, I would check the dashboard in the morning to see if you have any problems. And then when you click on that, it gives you the back end report for that. And you can go right to those 2 meters and see why they didn't report.
Right, no, I'm saying who would actually work on the meters?
Okay. Well, do you already have a meter tech crew that works on your existing meters?
We have one part-time gentleman.
Okay.
But it doesn't have these bells and whistles.
Correct.
All right.
Okay. Well, we provide training. We have how-to videos, service manual. We've also actually, I don't know if Joe mentioned it, we've been kind of in discussions with them about possibly repping and doing service for us in the future. Joe Urlano, that was just there with ITS. We don't have anything set up with them yet because our rep for New England just retired last month. So while we have most of the country, we're just handling factory direct. If you did want to have local service, we would see what we could work out through them probably, or whoever you decide to go with.
Okay, any other questions? Tracy?
Does and you may have touched on this and I may have missed it, is there the capability of, let's say, free parking on Sundays to shut the meters off for Sundays?
Absolutely. That's in the MEC spec itself. We call that a multi-rate. I'll just pick one of these and show you where that is. So when you set up the rate, and by the way, anytime anyone buys a system of these parking meters from us, I go ahead and I set up the dashboard for them and put a MEC spec or 2 in for them and kind of show you how to do it. But if you need help or need me to do something for you, I'm happy to do that. But when you're setting up the rate, this is where you click if it's going to be a fixed rate, which is the same rate all day, every day, or a multi-rate, at which point you have different rates that you set up and you call those rate 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you go down to your multi-rate schedule, and that's where your daily schedule, what you're going to do on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, every day. And you can choose one of these rates, or you can choose no parking or free parking. You can choose all day and have that free parking all day on Sunday. We also have some special event dates, exception dates, where you can set up exception rates for those as well. And even a seasonal schedule. And if you want, I can provide you with a demo login so you can play with the software if you want to.
That'd be fun. Yes, please do.
Okay.
When you say no parking, that means no parking in that spot?
The meter would say no parking, and if someone parks there and you're enforcing and it's during a no parking period, then you would want to write them a ticket at that time. But yeah, the meter would absolutely say no parking. We can also make a special, if you want to have like free holiday parking, you can have that and even have a special holiday message if you want.
Any other questions? Okay, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you very much.
Barbara?
You're welcome. And just let me know if you have any more questions, if you want a proposal, if you need lease purchase financing, anything like that.
Right. Thank you. I'll follow up
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It was nice hearing her now. It
Yes, like
reminded
Scooby, right?
me of home.
Well, gives us a lot to think about. Meters, kiosks. Clearly, all of them now have ways to control things off-site, you know. off-
It's great, and I love the
Um,
analytics,
I know,
like,
right? They
just,
both have-
you know.
They didn't show us there,
everything.
but they have the same sort of.
Yeah.
they both have the same sort of-
Yeah.
Which is incredible, because you can make all your future decisions based on, you know,
And I like the idea of the advertising.
on the.
I just keep seeing,
I see that as tourism 101, right?
yeah, more revenue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair, I mean, yeah. Cool, anything else you wanna talk about tonight, or like for next week? Oh, go ahead.
Is that the last of our proposals that we are considering?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Last proposal.
No. I have two more, I'm trying to get two more companies for the next month, and then I think we can start making decisions.
And is there anywhere, 'cause I tried looking for it on the ad hoc committee page, if there would be somewhere we could like aggregate the documents that we can look for it instead of,
Sure,
going off of memory?
yeah, I'll make sure in the next, what's today, Wednesday, Tuesday? In the next 3 days, I'll make sure Michael does that. Just keep it at it. Tracy will do it. Yeah.
I mean, if it's easier to email it, I mean, you're welcome.
Yeah. And we could put up the various presentations too. So, the other two major providers are a company called IPS and a company called Flowbird. I'm gonna try to get them for May. And then I think we'll be in a pretty good position to sort of make some decisions, even if it's just a short-term decision, because, we definitely need some kiosks at the Amtrak. Or if it's that other thing I mentioned about doing part of the street and kiosks.
Because with.
Because there's gonna be a lot of pushback.
And with the data, we can, do
Sell
that.
the system,
Yeah.
that.
Based on the actual analytics
Exactly,
we're
right,
getting,
yeah.
And say, look, this is what we learned from just this small,
right.
that won't be small because we'll be doing the city lots, which will give us a lot of info.
And if
Right.
they're saying that we can make 35 to 40% more because the piggyback goes away,
I know.
then
That's an amazing figure.
we'd be doing pretty good.
Don't always be people PO'd about some of this, but that's life.
Yeah, but piggyback also creates a ticket for you too. If you're not back in time for that 40 minutes, you get a ticket.
Right.
Yeah.
So it can go either way, So
Yeah.
at least you're starting fresh with.
Then it's fair.
Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to address maybe one of your questions. I think you were asking if the QR code changes. If your concern is like somebody could I don't know,
Perfect.
do something nefarious with that QR code, I think the QR is just a a link to their payment portal, so they wouldn't necessarily be able to do it, you know, I would imagine that their payment portal has all the security that's necessary to handle all that. And if it's a matter of like somebody sitting in a cafe repaying, I don't, you know, I think even the other kiosks would essentially have the same, because you can download the app and do the same thing.
Yeah,
The only difference is I think the kiosks, you can probably, like the programmable kiosks, you can have a limit for a customer where you can be like, oh, this person can only park there for like 2 hours. I don't know.
yeah, you can do a lot of customizing.
Which I don't
Although
think you can do with this most recent Arkansas-based system.
Don't hold it. I like Arkansas.
So, like I said, it's really gonna be a balanced system because, you know, right now, if the meter goes down or the other meter goes down, it's down for us. Wow. But a kiosk can, if that goes down.
They can go to the other kiosk. That's the cool thing.
Right, but if that kiosk isn't enough walking.
Yeah, it's a little bit more walking, but it's
Yeah,
still, it doesn't,
yeah,
you know,
shut the
off.
whole thing down.
Yeah, shut the whole area down. Cool. And I'd love to, you know, there's no reason to have meters in the lots.
And
That's
Tom, I'm sorry to cut you off, but have we talked seriously about the proposal in the study where they suggest like creating like a parking bureau? Have we considered that with any of our stakeholders, like the mayor's office or the city clerk?
You know, Kim is called the parking bureau.
Yes, on the city code, it is the
Yeah,
violations.
she is the code, I mean, the bureau. To go beyond that would require a lot of work because it would require, we'd either have to create
Authority.
an authority, and then we'd have to figure out is that a CSA employee or a mayoral appointee. I mean, it's.
Well, I think if the revenues, you know, sustains its own, then
Then we
the
can,
conversation
then
there,
it
right?
definitely, right,
Right, until we can get some sustainable revenue.
exactly. I think, right, it's something we could look forward to instead of.
But I will say with all these new components coming in,
Mhm.
Kim is one person. We have people that help her when she is backlogged from my office. But ultimately for the revenue portion, she's one person.
Mhm.
I don't know, thinking about the can of sardines that we work in the office here, it may be time to find even a part-timer that can come in
Right,
and do the normal daily stuff. Like Kim monitors all the equipment
Mhm.
and.
Yeah,
the appeals and, you know. I know we talked about it briefly during last budget
Mhm.
season, but as things are evolving, it's,
especially if this,
Well, especially if you take this big step, right?
Yeah.
There's no getting around it. We're gonna
Yeah.
need that with that next person.
yes.
Oh, another nice thing.
Shipments and-
we're going at the partial plan first, is that all those meters from the lots that we no longer need could replace all the ones that are broken and out of work. So you get some use out of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought.
What do we have? Four lots, right? 3 lots?
5.
Five lots, really?
I learned today. I forgot about the two on Orange Street.
Now, all those, which one, only the one behind City Hall is the one that's, less, right?
What do you mean?
The meters.
No, that's not true. They're the two on Warren are less.
Okay, so they're all,
More or less.
they're all for the incentive to park there, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, and we talked about this over lunch. The signage could include information that the lots are cheaper,
Right,
We're trying to
so
get-
no one knows
but they
that.
don't know it.
Right.
It was an idea, in theory, it sounded right, you know, incentivize going out there, but nobody knows that, so
Yeah.
no one's gonna do it.
Mhm.
But we,
No one even knows they're there. I mean,
well,
it
that's the
hasn't
other,
been
well, that's
around.
the other thing
Yeah.
too, yeah. That's for sure.
They
but
think
it's-
that they're parking for special businesses or whatever. Yeah,
And they don't know which one's in the city, they don't know which county,
right.
because, you know, especially on the Columbia lots, because,
Yeah. They're not marked correctly.
Right.
Yeah,
well, they made it clear
Signage.
that they would definitely help us with that signage to. You know, signs coming, as soon as you come into Warren Street, you need signs explaining everything and I think even though those are pretty decent looking, I mean, I've seen much clumsier looking kiosks than those, I don't know.
I remember them from Poughkeepsie.
All right,
Yeah, and I always thought they were kind of, they're not sleek, but they're not clunky
Right.
looking. The other ones we had were kind of clunky.
and you put that against so many meters, lots of meters all over the place.
But my whole thought with that was I was trying to think of the cheapest way to do this and having to pull all of those poles out of the ground and then re-concrete and, you know, I just was.
Yeah, just a tiny hole.
But if you start phase one where you're.
Yeah, phase one, we're not doing that. Right,
And then the phase two
Exactly.
would help pay for that.
yeah,
Okay,
Right? Because if we are going to now meter third and down, that's all new revenue.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
All
and
new-
I've talked to Ron, I mean, I've sort of talked some of this to Ron, and, there's certain ways we can actually save money in the future. For example, if we go, and I think Margaret was suggesting this early on, in this experimental phase, we
Mhm.
can go with no spaces and see how that works. I can see both sides of it, but it means no, lining the street. And if we
Okay.
don't, let's say eventually we didn't have to line the street off,
Mhm.
that's a lot of money saved.
what you talk about starting, because they don't have it down
From
to
third,
third.
yeah.
Third,
Yeah,
yeah,
right there,
right.
see if it works, see
Yeah,
if,
no, right.
see if it creates havoc or if it actually works.
There's a sampling and template right there.
Yeah,
Without creating too much of havoc.
exactly. So, anything
The
else?
added benefit of not having lines is that you could essentially maybe increase parking spaces because people would park closer.
That's the theory, that's the theory Margaret was working with anyway, and, you know, probably could be true. There'll be issues where people deliberately park like not a full space away from like yellow section, you know, to get that extra space, but maybe not, who knows?
I don't know
Well,
But
again,
you do know we
data
have money set aside,
collected.
right?
how much.
$400,000.
What?
For what?
Okay, let's do it.
Oh, that was definitely part of the plan when selling, 429. Let's put that aside for this.
I'm not
Sitting in-
saying be fiscally irresponsible.
No,
here,
no, no,
Just
I,
saying.
no, I don't wanna go, my feeling was that if we're gonna do this, we try to avoid bonding for it and all that kind of thing. Fail to pay it right up front and.
Yeah, but if we spend $400,000 and with the longevity, we're gonna get, you know,
We hope.
$800,000,
Exactly.
you know, so.
Yeah, I mean, everybody I've talked to so far is convinced we can increase our revenue from this without really hurting people. I mean, you know,
Yeah, because we still control the pricing, right?
yeah,
And we managed by taking a lot of, you know, the broken ones now are gonna be back on.
Right.
Right, and it's gonna be easier,
mhm,
especially with the pay system, right? Because now somebody can pay from inside your
Yeah.
restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
But one thing that was brought up by Barbara was that, you know, we don't recommend anything under $1 because of the credit card fees. That's something that I hadn't really thought about.
mhm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna increase our,
Upkeep cost, yeah, because I
Yeah.
think the credit cards are usually a per transaction fee.
yeah,
yeah, no, I know. Probably.
Plus-
Who
Yeah, I
knows?
do like that TU said that they would be able to give us like an estimate of recoupment. How long it might take to recoup our cost, depending on or based on what our current, you know, income is from the parkings.
did T2 also have, who was the first person that we saw? I can't remember right off the top of my head, that the meters would fit on these and they
Dunkin',
also,
Dunkin'.
Dunkin', and they took
Dunkin',
the,
yeah.
Yeah,
do they work with T2 as well? They do?
yes.
Okay. Cool.
Anybody else like to speak? I see we have a couple visitors.
Yes.
Oh,
Can we readdress or discuss, the parking permits down at the train station lot? Tomorrow is Wednesday. I will guarantee you, we will have at least 3 to 5 calls of irritated people because they cannot use their parking permit in the reserve spot. Wednesdays seem to be when the parking lot is full.
do you
So,
remember our discussion?
Yeah.
Right, you wanna get rid of it? And that's the
I
consensus?
do, I wanna phase them out.
So
So
let's,
it was implemented by resolution in 2002
so let's go to resolution for May, because no more permits.
and then phase out.
Phase them out, yeah, yeah.
Phase them out.
What you have now is what you have. We're not issuing them.
These kiosks, the ones that we just saw, are so much less, they're so much more user friendly than what was down there. Because I remember, trying to get to the train and it's snowing and you're freaking out and you can't figure out what this thing is supposed to do. But these look, the ones that they have today look much easier.
Cool,
Yeah.
so let's get a resolution ready for that. Excellent.
No.
Cool. Well, thank you all. We're adjourned.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Ryan. Everybody. Bye.